But anyway, once you sign one of these, once you sign something like this, you then have to go through a process. Crocodiles, they can't chew. I read this in John Gordon Davis's novel called Hold My Hand, I'm Dying. I was away with my wife on holidays and I was reading this book. She said, what are you reading about? I said, I'm reading about real estate agents. She said, but that's not what it says. I said, no, it talks about crocodiles. She said, well, what's the analogy you have here? I said, well, here's the analogy. A crocodile grabs its victim in its mighty jaws and drags the victim underwater and holds the victim there until such time as the victim drowns. Now, there'll be a lot of activity going on. The victim, of course, will be thrashing around trying to get away. The crocodile is very, very strong, powerful, and will perhaps go into a crocodile roll. But no, the crocodile's too strong, and the victim will drown. The crocodile will then take the victim away and leave the victim in its den to rot for several weeks so that the crocodile can come back later and crunch off pieces and swallow and digest them more easily. Now, this softening up process is the nature of crocodiles and real estate agents. And in real estate, it's called conditioning. And there's two parts to it. There's the activity conditioning, and then there's the crunch conditioning. And if you don't believe that it's called conditioning, it's actually taught. Vendor conditioning, it's called. Vendor conditioning. And here's what's said. Your strongest position in the selling process, agents, is 1 second after the vendor, that's the seller, has signed the listing authority. Don't wait for 6 weeks to give them the bad news. Start giving it to them straight away. Now, I was reading this and I was learning this when I was doing my real estate courses. And remember that what I'm showing you tonight is what gets said in writing. If this gets said in writing, what do you think gets said orally? There are 2 stages to the conditioning process. And incredibly, the home sellers, they don't understand it, and some of them never understand it. And some of them even actually go along with the process. The first stage being the activity. The real estate agent creates lots of activity so that the agent can then come back to you and say, oh, gee, the way the market is at the moment, well, I thought your house would be worth this, but the market is not telling us. Buyers, you'll know when you go out to see houses sometimes and you ask, how much is this house? Well, I don't know. It's up to the market to decide, as if there's some spirit around called market that's going to come along and just tell us what it's worth.